It's time for Baby and Toddler Instructions with host Blythe Lippman. Blythe is a nationally renowned infant and toddler expert who has over 30 years' experience helping moms and dads regain their sanity, teaching them how to survive, and giving them the confidence they need to be the best parents ever. From sleeping to crying to potty training to choosing a preschool and so much more. If you're a parent, Baby and Toddler Instructions is the show you've been looking for. Now here's your host, Blythe Lippman.
Well, good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever in the world you might be. And my guest is in Luxembourg, and she'll be with us in just a bit. Thanks so much for tuning in to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm your host, Blythe Lippman, and I am very excited about the show today. My guest, Devorah Blacher, will be with us in just a little bit. She wrote this wonderful book. I can't tell you, it makes you laugh, it makes you shake your head. It's called The Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess, How to Raise a Girl Who's Authentic, Joyful, and Fearless, even if she refuses to wear anything but a pink tutu. I can't wait to talk to her, but I do have a few things. First, as always, there were not any recalls for baby and toddlers this week. There were a ton of recalls for scooters, which is not for this age, but check out cpsc.gov if you want to see about the scooters, but go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, and go to recalls. I have all the up-to-date recalls on there, and as always, please do not try to fix things yourself. Call the company, send them an email. They'll either refund your money, they will, give you a repair kit. So check out mybestparentingadvice.com for that and lots of other things. The newest thing is I just wrote an article called What This Grandma Thinks About the Color of Poop. Honestly, I have to tell you, I had to write this blog post because, YouTube Kids last week, there was a lot of publicity about the fact that people are they're terrible. I mean, they have Paw Patrol, the dogs in strip clubs and monsters, and, YouTube does a lot to really monitor what's there. But I had to write this blog post about it because I was taking care of my 2.5-year-old grandson, and basically before he goes to bed, he calms down by either watching a movie or, looking at some kind of video, and he falls asleep in 2 seconds. Well, with Grandma babysitting, I didn't have a movie up my sleeve, so of course I got out my iPhone, and I figured I'll find something soothing on YouTube, some music or something, and we were scrolling through, and my gosh, he knows how to scroll, and he knows how to push on something. I mean, this is 2.5. It's a little scary. And he pushed on this YouTube that looked like it was colors, and I have to tell you, this little video was toilets lined up, and different color poop was coming out of the toilets to teach the colors. You have never seen a grandma push that X so fast. I mean, come on, this is ridiculous. You know what? There are wonderful videos and movies and apps, to teach your little ones, but this one, really inappropriate. So check out my blog post because I do have tips on what to do if you're going to use YouTube or if you're going to let your your children use your devices. So again, mybestparentingadvice.com has my new blog post and a really funny picture. So I wanted to share that because I was just mortified. I thought, oh my goodness, who does this? You know what? I'm not a prude, but it's not appropriate as far as I'm concerned. And you know how I give my opinion. Also, because we're going to be talking about little princesses and tutus and, basically little girls growing up to be who they are, there was this really funny article in Babbel.com that I had to share. This is a salute to granny panties. It says, Granny Panties, a salute to Granny Panties has moms everywhere saying, hell yeah. If you're a mom, chances are you've got a few trusty pairs of granny panties in your drawer. Maybe buried beneath the sexy stuff, long forgotten, and you only used a few weeks post-pregnancy, but let's face it, comfort is everything. Maybe you're committed to fighting the good fight against those flesh-colored giant Fruit of the Loom briefs that look like they can cover the state of Texas during a rainstorm. And if so, keep on fighting. Adrienne Wood of Tales of an Educated Debutante says, "You're not alone." In a post a while ago, she is a frequent Babbel contributor. I love that site, Babbel.com. Take a look. She rocks a pair of granny panties in a selfie with pride because 40-plus years on Earth, and the type of underwear she wears does not determine her self-worth. Says, "Dear girl in the giant underpants, you are awesome. You've pushed your body to the limit. Swimming, roller skating, sports, gymnastics, never the very best, but you ran hard and you showed up. Why does she look so good?" She says, "You're wonderful, amazing. You rock those giant underpants. I mean, you've earned wearing them. It's not just that you're over 40. Nope, you've given birth 3 times. Number 4 was a C-section. Your body never bounced back after that. Honestly, you've got bigger fish to fry than a smushy tummy." You know what? Basically, the article was be the best mommy you can, and if it's running every day, then go for it. If it's coffee with cream and sugar, live it up. If it's climbing the jungle gym, chasing geese, and ice cream on the way home, own it. You're enough. You're more than enough. Those giant underpants don't define you. So I pulled this article because it just really hit me, because Devorah is going to talk to us about the pink tutu, and I wonder if that defines the little princess. But we will talk to her in a few minutes. Another thing I did want to share, I have my 3 books right now, and I hope to be working on another one. My books, Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, More Help My Baby Came Without Instructions, and Help My Toddler Came Without Instructions. So I wanted to share just a couple of my own tips from the chapter called I Promise I Won't Meddle, How to Be the Best Grandparents in the World. You know, with the holidays coming up, you may be going to grandma's, they may be coming to your house, and I'm a grandma, and we do things a little differently sometimes, as much as we try to listen to what the rules are. So from my chapter, I Promise I Won't Meddle, here's, this is really interesting tips. You have to try to listen and follow the rules, but sometimes you can. So try your best not to give unsolicited advice, even if you're nervous and don't agree with your children's parenting methods. Yes, you mean well, and you were successful in raising your own children, but, things have changed over the years, so zip it up if you can. Try your best to do what your children ask you when you're caring for them, even if you don't agree. Hard feelings take away from those precious moments. You know what? While you may want to drop by unannounced for a grandparent fix, well, that's not going to happen during the holidays, but don't do it. You know what? Call ahead or make a, every Tuesday roll or Saturday, whatever it is. Finally, if your grandchild is not allowed to have sweets, as tempting as it may be, don't think one piece won't hurt and say this will be our little secret, because I have to tell you, the first thing toddlers are going to say is, Grandma told me a secret and she told me not to tell you. So those are just a few tips from my books. And with the holidays coming up, they make great gifts. They make great shower gifts, holiday gifts, new parent gifts. You can purchase my books on my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, babyinstructions.com, Barnes & Noble, Amazon. They're even on Audible. So anyway, I thought I would share that because grandparents, fortunately play a good big part in our holidays, and they are coming up sooner than later. I can't believe it's going to be Thanksgiving next week. So with that, those are my things to share today. Let me tell you a little bit about my guest this morning. Her name is Devorah Blacher. She's a New York Times Mother Lode columnist and also writes for Huffington Post, McSweeney's, The Hairpin, Red Book, Mommyish, Good Housekeeping, and The Rumpus, among other websites and magazines. Her husband is Matt Reese. He's an award-winning journalist and novelist. Their children provide endless material for humorous essays. And also, I thought this was really pretty awesome. She writes under the pen name Jasmine Schwartz. She wrote the mystery novels about 30-something New Yorker whose search for herself is constantly interrupted by the discovery of dead bodies. Whoa, Devorah, you do everything from funny to serious to dead bodies. Anyway, welcome to the show. Devorah has this great book called The Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess, How to Raise a Girl Who's Authentic, Joyful, and Fearless, even if she refuses to wear anything but a pink tutu. I have to tell you, this book, just crack me up, the illustrations, and it's got wonderful messages in it, but you're a terrific writer. So welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much. Those were really, really kind words. Thank you. Thank you for having me on the show. I'm great. How are you?
Excited. You're pretty far away, too. You're in Luxembourg. What time is it there, and what's the weather?
You can always just assume that it's cloudy and rainy in Luxembourg. You don't really have to ask, and it's about 20 after 5 p.m.
Wow, okay, dinner time.
Yeah.
Well, you sound great. So we're going to have a commercial in just about 2 minutes, and I have to tell you, I always say this, when I have authors on my show, I hate turning down pages on books, so I have like 20 pieces of paper in this book because everything, you know what, I want you to share all this. It's so interesting. If you can quickly, in under 2 minutes, tell my readers, how did you come up with this? Love the name.
Thanks. I came up with it because when before my daughter turned 3, she fell down the Disney princess rabbit hole, and that's not who I am at all. I never wore pink in my life. You know, I didn't like princesses when I was a kid, and I'm a feminist. So I was surprised. I was a little mortified, and I was trying to figure it all out. And I wrote a satirical essay called Turn Your Princess Toddler into a Feminist in 8 Easy Steps, and it was tongue-in-cheek. You know, it's not a serious essay. It was meant to make people laugh. And the New York Times published it, and it went viral. I got an enormous amount of feedback and response. I couldn't believe, the amount of people who read it, with whom it resonated, and who reached out to me. And I started to read a lot about this subject, about the Disney princess industry and what it all meant, and the marketing to girls. And I'm a humor writer and an essay writer, so I decided to explore writing a book on this subject, and that's how it happened.
Well, I'm so glad you did because, things change. We have Sophia. We have new princesses now, not the ones we had, when I was a kid. I'm a lot older than you, but it's kind of the same thing. And I remember last year going into the stores, and there were tutus everywhere, tutus in all different colors, no matter what. And the kids were going to school in them. But anyway, we are breaking for a commercial. We will be right back, so stay with us.
We'll be right back with more help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
It's words you never heard.
The first official 4th of July party was held at the White House in 1801. But did you know that countries other than the U.S. celebrate American Independence Day or July 4th? Denmark, Italy, Portugal, and England all have 4th of July parties. In fact, the British celebrate their independence with bungers and fizzgigs, otherwise known as firecrackers, just like in America. Squib is slang for an electric match used in pyrotechnics. Our dog celebrates July 4th every year the same way, by cowering under the bed. Many European celebrations take place, of course, at American military bases. I'd like to send a special thanks to all our armed forces stationed around the world for everything you do to provide freedom and independence to America.
It's words you never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Can muscle turn into fat? It sure looks like it can, but the reality is it can't. When you have tight and defined muscles and you quit working out with weights or exercising at all in some cases, it seems like your hard muscle turns to flab. Remember, muscle and fat are two different entities, and one cannot turn into another. What happens is when you stop exercising, your muscle fibers grow smaller while your fat cells grow larger. With exercise, your muscles make the fibers grow, and when you stop exercising, they reduce in size. Likewise, your body's fat cells can change in size depending on how much fat each one stores. So keep your body fit, healthy, and strong. Keep up your exercise. And don't let conditioned muscles become flabby. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I'm here with my wonderful guest, Devorah Blacher. She is the author and mom. Her book is The Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess, How to Raise a Girl Who's Authentic, Joyful, and Fearless, even if she refuses to wear anything but a pink tutu. So, Devorah, what's a little princess? How do we define it?
What's a little princess? I define a little princess as a toddler who becomes enamored with the Disney Princess brand and with the color pink, and strongly identifies with everything pink and princessy, and refuses to leave the house without wearing her favorite tutu and tiara and cape and blinding neon pink tights and whatever outfit she puts together. One characteristic of these girls is their outfits are hilarious. They put together these hilarious outfits, and unless you're a parent who is going to control the clothing choices of your child, and I respect all choices among parents, but if you're letting that go and you're letting your child choose, they put together the funniest outfits. They're so characterful, and then inevitably pink. And they want the pink. And they want all the pink, and they want everything, all the princess products, clothing, water bottles, backpacks, pop-up princess tent, you name it. That's what they want in their possession.
Yeah, I can just see it. I mean, I just picture all this pink. It's really funny. And, you know, look at the beginning. You're pregnant, pink and blue. Are you having a girl or are you having a boy? So maybe the next one should be raising a little prince. But... and do the blue. Anyway, on your book, it says most little princesses start out as little princess toddlers, and you have a quiz. Are you a little princess toddler? And this just cracks me up. There's a quiz. During snack time, you chew one of your apple slices, spit it on the floor, and then crumble your cracker into your mother's special drink. Or you snug in your parents' bed with your fingers in your mother's nose and your heel digging into your father's neck. I mean, it's so funny. And, you know, my kids are grown up, but I was reading your book and just shaking my head with some of these things and thinking, yeah, you know what? I remember that, and I remember that. And, you know, some things you don't forget. So do you think you should steer your children away from the pink and the princesses? And how do you do it? Because toddlers are tough.
That's what I thought going into it. You know, when my daughter first started getting into it, she was still 2, and she instantly was attracted to it. The first, I didn't buy her anything pink or princessy, but the first item that came into our house was a book. It was sent to us by my in-laws. It was called Once Upon a Song, and it had the Disney princesses on the cover and buttons on the side, each one that played a little tune. And my daughter loved this book intensely. She only wanted to read it for a time. She abandoned all her other books. And so at first I thought, this is no good. This is not the child that I want to, this is not what I want for my child. And I thought of hiding the book. I thought of throwing away the book. And while I was scheming, much like the evil queen in Snow White, against this book, she also started at that age a part-time preschool program, a few hours a day. And so it introduced her to princess backpacks, princess water bottles, princess dresses, because the preschool had a play dress-up area, and all the accessories that all the other girls had and jewelry. So she started to see this for the first time. So she was exposed to it. So, as I was plotting against this innocent book, it was infiltrating her consciousness anyway, and she was starting to ask for things that were pink and wanting to wear the color pink. And so my initial reaction was, yeah, I've got to stop this. But time passed, and a few different things happened at once. One is when she was when she was 2, that's when I weaned her. She was still breastfeeding until age 2, and I weaned her around this age. So I was taking away the thing that comforted her most, which definitely induces a lot of guilt. And some other things were happening which were challenging, for her on a 2-year-old level, which also starting preschool as well, and separation from me for the first time. So you choose your battles, and sometimes I would just go out and find myself buying her something that I knew she would love with an image of a princess on it. So so it was like, at first it was like a trickle. I just thought, oh, just one little thing. I know it's going to make her so happy. So I was weak. I didn't stand by my convictions.
You were a mom.
But I was a mom, right. But I was also seeing how deeply she loved this stuff, and I was questioning myself. Is it really important? Is it really harmful? Is this really going to have negative consequences if she goes down this road of loving things that are traditionally stereotypically female? Is that bad? So I started to read a lot on the subject, and I started to read all these studies that have been done, and they're newer studies because this is a newer phenomenon, which I can talk about later why it's new. But all the studies that evaluate little girls who engage in princess play and might like princesses exclusively, and there was nothing to indicate that there's any relationship between the princess play and some of the problems that girls develop later on with self-esteem and body image and some of the things that I was fearing, on her behalf. So my resistance started to crumble, and it was a combination of her pure love and joy for everything princess and my growing knowledge, and awareness on the subject, which allowed me to separate the princesses from all the things I was really fearing. Because actually the princess play, I don't think it's so harmful in itself. So a trickle became a deluge, and we've got a lot of princess items in my house. I never thought I would say that, but there's a lot. I'm just looking around the room right now. There's a Cinderella puzzle right in front of me, and so I changed. The book is really more about how I changed than about my daughter.
What do you think? I know you said your in-laws sent that book, but why do you think it went to the next level and the next level and the next level? Because, you think about a 2-year-old, they're so strong-minded and they'll, like when you tell them a story, they want you to tell it 50,000 times over and over and over. Why do you think she gravitated so much, and little girls gravitate so much to everything pink and everything princess?
Well, there's 2 explanations. One is that it's being marketed towards them, but that's not the full explanation, because it's being marketed towards them because they do like it. That the marketing campaign isn't creating the preference, but it's tapping into it and perhaps exaggerating it. But one explanation I read was by these Princeton researchers who said that at the toddler age, children tend to gender identify. That's a stage where they realize their gender. Probably not all the time, right? But sometimes they realize their gender, and they want to strongly identify it, and so they develop these preferences for things that are specific to their gender. And that was their explanation for why there's a percentage of girls, and they call it the pink frilly dress syndrome, or they have some name for it, or the stage, of when these girls become pretty obsessive about the color pink and everything princessy and frilly, and refuse to leave their house without their tutu.
It's tough, and I'm thinking about my grandson. He's obsessed with his little cars, his little Matchbox cars, and Grandma, takes the Matchbox car, and I put it in my purse, and he goes and finds my purse and calls it my pocket something, and wants to go in, and I usually bring a car. I started this thing bringing him little Matchbox cars, and he's obsessed with his Matchbox cars. So I guess that's his version of princess. I don't know.
Well, I don't actually see the equivalent of this among boys. So there's definitely, the marketing campaign is definitely exacerbating this tendency for them to identify with this color and this motif. But one thing that I can tell parents is that most girls pass this stage. It's a stage, and my daughter has not passed it yet. But from what I've read and from speaking to parents, the stage passes, the princess preference passes, and they actually start to associate it with being a baby at a certain point. So, while it lasts, and it doesn't seem to leave a lasting imprint, which doesn't mean that there aren't pitfalls to look out for with girls as they become adolescents, but I think the princesses are harmless, and they can actually be positive if you utilize them, and there are also newer princesses, which I didn't grow up with. I grew up with Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, and Aurora. Those were the princesses I grew up with, and I call them the Sleepy Trio because a couple of them actually sleep through portions of their story, and they're very passive and they're very regressive, and they were written by the characters were written by men who imagined that their whole salvation would be dependent on the prince. But there are more modern contemporary princesses, as we all know, and that's great. And to their credit, Disney has made an effort to write some good stories which are worthy of our daughters and sons. And so you can also just watch those movies.
I wonder
as
too,
well.
It's interesting, because I grew up with Snow White, and I grew up with Cinderella too, and I wonder if the kids look at this and they get as much of a thrill as they do with, let me say, in quotes, the modern princesses. But we're gonna have a commercial break in just a few seconds. But I just wonder if they look at it, as we're older, we go, oh, that's so old-fashioned. You'll have to tell me after the break about that, because it's different. I guess a princess isn't a princess, but my feeling is I love to go back and see those old things, but it's nice to reminisce. Anyway, when we come back, we will talk more to Devorah Blacher. She wrote The Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess, How to Raise a Girl Who's Authentic, Joyful, and Fearless, even if she refuses to wear anything but a pink tutu. Stay with us.
Baby
love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
We'll be right back with more help. For help, my baby came without instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
Baby love, my baby love, I need you, oh, I need you.
In today's business world, a helping hand or idea that doesn't come with an invoice is a treasured find. And if that happens to you, then you need to pay it forward to keep other entrepreneurs from making mistakes or getting a raw deal. It's called Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10, 9 a.m. Central. Josephine is going to have the guests describe their accomplishments, the lessons they've learned, both good and bad, and then sharing those pieces of knowledge as we create a movement of paying it forward. For more information about Josephine, her business, and background, you can go to mymomknowsbest.com. Josephine Girassi has always been a problem solver. She saw this need and has turned it into a movement. It's Paying It Forward with tips, tools, and advice and hard lessons learned. These pieces of knowledge can make a huge difference for you, your business, and others. So join us for Paying It Forward with Josephine Girassi, Wednesday mornings at 10 a.m., 9 a.m. Central on TogiNet.com.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
Back pain can really be a bother. Men's Health magazine states that 80% of all men suffer from back pain. One of the best things you can do to ward off lower back problems is strengthen your abdominal muscles. 75% of all lower back problems can be prevented by building your ab muscles. When your abs are weak, the muscles in your buttocks and the back of your legs, your hamstrings, have to work harder to keep your spine stable. One of the easiest abdominal exercises is crunches. Keep your low back on the floor at all times. Squeeze your abdominals as you crunch up and lower slowly in a controlled manner. You can do several sets of crunches every day to strengthen your abs and beat back pain. For the Fitness Minute, I'm Annette Hammond. To hear other fitness and weight loss tips, visit our website at AnnetteHammond.com.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. Talking to Devorah Blacher, the author of The Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess. Anyway, before the break, I was saying I wonder if the modern little princesses now, if they watch Cinderella or Snow White, well, do you think they'll get as big of a bang out of it as these new modern princesses?
Well, when they're in the toddler stage, they're as enamored of those old movies as they are of the new, and sometimes even more, because those old movies are very simple, and some of the newer princess films are more complex, and the stories are sophisticated. So at that early toddler princess obsessed stage, they do like those early films. I was surprised. I mean, I was hesitant to show them to my daughter at all, because I really, they are very regressive films, and I don't even know how it came about that she heard about Snow White, she wanted to watch Snow White, and I actually was convinced that she was going to be so bored, because I remember it being kind of boring for me. She loved it, but as she's gotten older, she definitely gravitates towards the newer contemporary princesses. And moreover, as she's gotten older, I'm able to discuss the plots of the old ones with her in a more sophisticated way. Like, we've talked about how in the olden days, the only path out of a bad situation for a damsel in distress was marriage, right? And how unfair that was for girls and women to be so limited. And she is old enough to understand that and be upset about that and know that it's not okay. So she can also watch these stories with a more sophisticated eye and see how things have changed and how unfair it used to be for girls and women.
Isn't it interesting? Because everything's changed, technology, everything. It used to be simple, and it can't be simple anymore because everything is so much more complicated, with technology and the stories and I even know when I go to my daughter's house and my grandson's watching a video, I have to sit there and ask her who these characters are and what they do, and it's a lot more complicated, our world.
Yeah.
So I have a question. Did any other parents say anything to you when your daughter was dressed in pink all the time? Was that an issue with you as a mom?
No, I mean, she was definitely flamboyantly pink, and I remember people making comments about it at her school, but it was all in good humor. I mean, one thing is that when she started this preference for princessy clothing, she was instantly rewarded for it. As soon as we left the house, people love it, and they gave her a lot of attention for it and a lot of positive reinforcement. So, that I didn't love that because I don't want her to get the message that what she's wearing is so important and how she looks is so important. So I wasn't thrilled with the reaction, but it was never negative, and she definitely got a lot of attention because of some of those outfits. I mean, she would leave the house with a cape and a tiara, just to go to the pharmacy, and people loved it, and because it's not challenging anybody's perceptions of what a little girl should be, and in some cases it's maybe it's comforting to some people to see, oh, little girl, little princess, yay, but I don't want to read too much into it. She was adorable, and people thought she was adorable, so. I think I'll just remember it that way.
No, you know what? And it's great because it is really so cute. And, the best part is that as a mom, you're letting her be herself. It's tough when your kids are toddlers and they want to make their own decisions. It's really hard. You can't give them 10 different decisions. You can give them 2.
Right.
Do you want to wear this? Do you want to wear this? Do you want to eat this? Do you want to eat that? And
Right.
I think it's great as a mom to be able to do that, because in
Right.
our society, we talk about, especially with everything going on now with the abuse and what's coming out that's happening to women or happened years ago. I mean, bringing up a little girl in this day and age and trying to bring her up and protect her, from so many things, and also, navigate our society that really, really does idealize perfection, as you say. I mean, how do we do that? We're starting with a little princess at 2 or 3.
Yeah,
It's a different world.
You're raising 2 really important points. One is the idealized perfection and the expectations of perfection, and I think that that is something that is challenging for boys too. They're asked to be perfect in a different way. So one thing is, for sure, as parents, we got to let our kids know that they're perfect as they are with their imperfections, and that that the expectation of perfection is a false and a destructive expectation, and we can give ourselves room to be human, flawed, vulnerable, be our true selves. And I'm trying to do that, and it's challenging, but and also to do it for myself, for me not to fall prey to those expectations. But the other thing you were tapping into, which is, the challenges that girls have as they get older with assault, abuse, etc. I think, one of the things that bothered me about those early princesses is their passivity, right? And it's really important to teach girls and boys, all kids, trust your voice, speak up. You don't have to be silent to make somebody else comfortable, and if something's not right, you speak up. And there's a lot more we could say on this subject, but I think that just in addressing the intersection of this princess issue with that one, it's about just teaching our kids not to be quiet when something is wrong.
No, that's such an important thing you just said, because we could go on and on about what's going on in our world today, but starting from when they're little, sometimes with toddlers, especially when they have tantrums, if you look at it, they are speaking up and they're letting us know what they want and what they don't want. And we have to be the role models and guide them the right way, boys and girls, whether it's the tutu or whether it's the cars or whatever it is. But it's so important that they speak up. And especially in this day and age, with parents working so hard, it's not always dinner at the table every night, or sitting down, and talking to your kids. That old adage of when they're when they're in 7th grade, what'd you do today? Nothing. So it starts at the beginning, to let your kids speak and to talk to them. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think that's one of the that's a difficult thing for me as a parent, because children naturally speak up and say all their needs and wants, without filter. And one of our roles as parents is to get a filter, a system of filtering in them. But you don't want to do it at the expense of making them bury their own wants and needs and voice. And that's a tricky balance for parents, or at least it's been tricky for me, because I really, I know, like in my adolescence, I really shut down, and I did not express myself, and that state of self-negation, let's say, went on too many years for me, and I really would love to give my kids space to feel that they can be true to themselves. So that is an interesting distinction with an interesting conflict of modern day parenting, because I don't want them to think that they have to be quiet to please others, but you also don't want kids who are aggressive and and selfish and narcissistic. So that's the fine balance for me, because I don't want this spark that I see in my daughter, because right now she thinks she is fabulous. she thinks she is beautiful, and she thinks she can do almost anything that she wants. And I don't want to dim that spark by telling her to rein it in. And so, but our role as parents is also to socialize our kids. So I'm sure there's a lot of great articles and books written about this very subject. That's not what my book is about, but I think that this taps into some of the subjects that I write about in my book, and just trying, I want her to feel free to express herself.
Exactly. You know what? Because it is like walking on a tightrope. You don't want to embarrass them. You don't want to make them feel bad. But again, like you're saying, there are no filters, and how do you deal with the no filter? Especially when you're out in public and they say something and they really, whatever they're saying is coming from their heart, yet it's not appropriate to say it. To say that when you're in public, the old thing about you're in the grocery store and your toddler says, "Look at that fat person in front of us."
Right.
And yes, they're fat, and yes, they're overweight, and I'm sure they're fine, wonderful human beings. But what do? Do you run out? I've seen parents run out of the grocery store, and it's not the time to give them a lecture, or maybe it's not age appropriate. They don't really understand. They're not supposed to say that. Being a parent is not easy at any age. But, starting from the beginning, they're like little sponges, and they remember. And, I have to say this because my kids are grown. When your kids are grown, you're going to have so much fun talking about the princess and the pink and the tutus when you're sitting around the table and they're in their 20s, and what your daughter's remembering about all of this. I mean, each stage is a challenge, but it's a wonderful challenge. But the challenge here is we're going to have a commercial break in just a few seconds, and when we come back, I am going to ask you what your favorite parenting tip or tips are. I always like to ask my guests that because everybody has different things that work in their families, since we're all different. And also, you can talk a little more about the book and tell my listeners what you would like them to have as the takeaway from the book. There's so much in here. This is great. I love the cover. Is this your daughter by any chance?
That is not my daughter, no.
Okay, had to ask. Really cute picture. and perfect with the tutu. They're so cute with the pink. Anyway, so stay with us. I am here with Devorah Blacher, the author of The Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess. We will be right back.
We'll be right back with more Help My Baby Came Without Instructions. It's Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet. We'll be right back right after these.
It's merging never heard.
Did you know a dentist invented the first electric chair? Just thinking about going to the dentist makes me feel like I'm headed for death row. What's a word for the fear of a dentist? Odontophobia. Bruxomania is another word for the compulsive grinding of one's teeth. Early toothbrushes were twigs with frayed ends. Toothpaste in a tube was made available to the public in 1892 and was called Dr. Scheffel's Cream Dentifrice. Now Americans buy 14 million gallons of toothpaste every year. In Mexico, the tooth fairy is called the tooth mouse. Half of all Americans say that a smile is the first thing they notice about a person. It's easy to spot a person with a fake smile, otherwise known as an exedesiast.
It's merging never heard.
I'm Carolyn Davidson, and you can have fun challenging your words you never heard vocabulary with my free app, Too Funny for Words.
It's the Fitness Minute with fitness expert Annette Hammond.
When your focus is to lose weight or maintain your present weight, exercising effectively to burn the most calories is crucial. You want to give yourself every advantage to burn as many calories as possible. One good tip is to do your strength training exercises standing up so you can keep your heart rate up. Another tip is to perform multi-joint exercises when you can. For example, as you're doing a forward lunge, add bicep curls while you're coming up from the lunge. Another example is to execute a wide squat, and as you're coming up from the squat, perform a shoulder press. By doing these multi-joint exercises, you're putting more demands on your body, keeping your heart rate up, and working more muscles at the same time. The goal is to burn the most calories during that workout. I'm Annette Hammond. To hear other fitness and weight loss tips, visit our website at AnnetteHammond.com.
Welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions with Blythe Lipman on TogiNet, the hour for all moms with little ones to come for great advice, encouragement, and great ideas for all new parents. Now, back to the show with Blythe Lipman.
Well, welcome back to Baby and Toddler Instructions. I cannot believe we are up to the last part of the show. I am here with my wonderful guest, Devorah Blacher, the Feminist Guide to Raising a Little Princess, How to Raise a Girl Who's Authentic, Joyful, and Fearless, even if she refuses to wear anything but a pink tutu. And such great information. The book will make you laugh. It will make you shake your head and say, yeah, I get it. You know, if your kids are grown up and they were princesses when they were little and they all pink, it's just such a good book, and Devorah has wonderful information. So can you tell my listeners, where can they get the book?
They can get the book wherever books are sold, and if they want to go online, it's sold through Amazon. It's sold through the website of my publisher, Penguin, Tarcher Perigee, which is an imprint of Penguin Books. And they can go to my website. There will be a link there, DevorahBlacher.com. They can order it from my website. And also, I'd love for anybody who has a little princess or has raised a little princess-obsessed girl who wants to get in touch, tell me their stories, their recommendations, their insights. I'd love to hear from all parents.
That would be great. So before we move on, can you tell me, do you have a favorite parenting tip or tips?
My favorite parenting tip is not one that's specific to parenting, but it's definitely one that's relevant to parenting, which is to let go of expectations and accept what is in front of you at any given moment. And that, when I remember that, it really, really helps me let things flow. Right now my kids are fighting a lot. They fight. I don't know how this happened. They fight. So if I feel myself resisting their fight, then suddenly there's three of us fighting, which does not help, surprisingly, to have another person fighting. But when I can just accept the situation, then, usually we can, I can manage it better. I can get everybody out of it, or just let it go, go its course. But it's true of I bring up the fighting, but it's so true for so many challenging moments of parenthood can be resolved just by accepting that it's happening and just kind of surrendering and letting it flow. And that doesn't mean that we as parents don't have influence and we can't help and things like that, but the resistance to what is it's not good for us, not good for our kids. It's hard to remember, but as much as I can, I try to.
That is really a great tip for everything. I mean, parenting anything, when we're on the phone with somebody and they're not very nice, or you're trying to get something, or whatever it is, that, resistance is not good. I love it. Thank you. That's a great tip. So what about the parents that you interviewed for this book? Can you share any stories?
Well, I interviewed young women who identified as princess obsessed when they were younger, because I call them the first generation to come of age since Disney started to market heavily to princesses, and because that only started in 2000. That was something reported originally by Peggy Orenstein in her book Cinderella Ate My Daughter. This heavy marketing only started in 2000. So now we really have the first generation coming of age who are, in their latter teen years or early adulthood. So I reached out and I got some young women to fill in a survey and tell me about their experience. And it was really, really encouraging and heartening to any parent, because they were such an interesting and engaging and just a wonderful bunch of young women, and they could look back at their princess years with a lot of humor and insight, and none of them were negative about their years as princess obsessed. And they were all over the map in terms of career and aspirations. So it was great to talk to these women and get their perspective, and all the information from those surveys are in the book.
The ones you saw, were they still wearing pink? I had to ask.
I think like one or two. Actually, just one said she still loves princesses. She's an unreconstructed lover of princesses in her, at age 20. And that's also okay. It's all okay. But the rest of them had given up the habit at some point. They usually said they gave it up at age 7, 8, 9. Various answers, but almost all around that age.
That's pretty interesting. So what do you want the takeaway to be from your book?
Don't take it so seriously. If you are taking it seriously, don't take it so seriously. You can shift your worry focus onto things that really need our attention. But the princesses, you can kind of just let it be without buying everything that your daughter wants you to buy, without buying every pink and princess item in the store, right? We need limits. But just let it be. This is really a joyful time. It's a really, I think it's a harmless obsession for little girls, and it can be pretty hilarious. So just let it go, enjoy, and get in touch and let me know how it's all going.
You know what? Definitely get in touch with Devorah at her website if you want to talk about it. It's Devorah Blacher, BLACHOR.com, because you know what? It's great. It's great to watch the different stages, and how they learn and what they think. And, I'm looking at your book at the end, the afterword, Princesses and Wolves. I never thought I would defend Disney princesses. I'm the woman who makes fun of them. I mean, it says, I can't ensure this will never happen, but trying to control children will harm and not hurt them. Being controlling is worse than princesses. Fear is worse than princesses. I love everything you put because, you're so right. You can't control everything. It's tough to control the grandparents sometimes, setting the limits with us. That's kind of a tough one because I know just as a grandma, you go out and go, oh, this is so cute. I want to buy this. I want to buy this. And I found for me and for the other grandmas out there, you know what? Call up your children and say, can I buy this? Don't just buy it. It's better to ask. That's what I found as a grandma. I don't know if that works.
Well, you're very nice. I would err on the side of the grandparents every time. Give them a break.
It's fun to be a grandma. It really is. Anyway, I love your book. I love all your information, and I will put it all on my website. Thank you so much for being on the show today. You're a terrific guest.
Thank you so much.
And let me know when the next book is up.
You bet.
You know what? You'll have to come back, and I hope the sun comes out, and enjoy your dinner hour, because that's what time it is there, you said.
The kids are at Pizza Hut with my husband, but thank you.
Oh, yum. Sounds good to me. No cooking. All right. Well, enjoy your time alone.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
You're great. Take care. Have a great night.
You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Well, what a fun guest. I love my guests. If you ever want to be a guest on the show, go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, and contact me. Also, check out all the other wonderful shows on TogiNet.com. We have all kinds of topics, wonderful hosts. They have wonderful guests. And, you can also go to TogiNet.com to find my podcast as well as my website. Next week, I am going to play a new podcast you haven't heard. It's pre-recorded. My guest was dermatologist Dr. Lorna Fredrickson. She shared so many tips for keeping your family's skin healthy, your little ones healthy, when and what kind of sunscreen to use, even during the winter months when we think we don't have to use it. What your babies and toddlers need, and so much more. And again, because of the Thanksgiving holiday, it was pre-recorded, so if you do have any questions or comments about the show when you're listening, you can contact me again go to my website, mybestparentingadvice.com, or call my office at 480-510-1453. So with Thanksgiving coming up, I'm sure everybody's thinking about it, buying the food. You're busy. I would like to end today's show with these wonderful tidbits. May your stuffing be tasty. May your turkey be plump. May your potatoes and gravy have nary a lump. May your yams be delicious and your pies take the prize. And may your Thanksgiving dinners stay off your thighs. Also, it's not joy that makes us grateful. It's gratitude that makes us joyful. So when you are preparing your Thanksgiving dinner, let your little ones help. Things as simple as setting the table, folding the napkins. Little ones, even at 2, love to stir. And if you have a little one that's still in the high chair, even though they may not get what they're doing, you can let them help. It's really fun to see them grow and change each year. I know in my family when we have Thanksgiving, one of the things I've done for years and years, which is my favorite, is I would put all the food out, on the counters, because there's so much food during Thanksgiving. And we would all get our plates, we would sit down, and my children, they would groan and moan, and I would have everybody go around and say what they were thankful for. And even though they used to not like it, it's pretty interesting to look back over your year and think about what you're grateful for. It could be something big. It could be something small. I find every day I try to think about what I'm grateful for. We are so lucky. We have so many wonderful things. Something as simple as watching your little one play. Or let's talk about princesses. Look at the cute outfits that they wear if they happen to be in the princess mode. There's so many things to be grateful for. And I have to say, those are the things that create memories that last a lifetime. And as I was saying to my guest, when your children get older and you're sitting around the table, you will be amazed. Your heart will be smiling when you hear them talk about all the wonderful things they remember when they were little, because you may think they're not remembering or they're not watching, but we're our children's best role models, and they watch everything we do. So, as Devorah said, resistance isn't healthy. You know what? Let go of your expectations and accept what is in front of you. Things change constantly. And anyway, that was a great tip from her. So I want to wish you all a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, one filled with family, fun, delicious foods, and gratitude. And remember, eat, drink, and wear stretchy pants. Happy Thanksgiving. I will see you next time. Have a great rest of your week, too. Bye-bye.